folks, welcome back to Stacey Can. Today I am making split pea soup. So hit the like and subscribe button down below while I chat about this for a quick second, because you may be wondering, why am I making split pea soup? I don't personally care for it. This is a contribution I'm giving to my mother and my husband, who enjoy it. I personally don't think it's great, and but sometimes we do really good things for people to put a deposit into that I'm being good and kind human bank account. So if you want to be awesome like me, you can make split pea soup. Maybe you love it. Maybe you absolutely love it. I personally don't, but it's fine. It's not bad. It's a texture thing for me. However, this is a pretty straightforward recipe. It's not difficult to make at all. You can actually, if you have your own split, as long as you don't put milk in it, you cannot put any dairy in this to pressure can. Just keep that in mind. No dairy and no flours, etc. Added to it. But this is a recipe that you can mess with some of the spices and such with it. So it's pretty straightforward. It's very basic. You just need 2 cups of dried split peas. And this recipe that I'm listed here makes about 2 quarts, maybe 3 to 4 pints. Oh no, it's more than that. I'm doing my math wrong. I think it's like 6 pints, whatever. It makes 2 quarts, that much I do know. So it makes 2 quarts. So I actually have 6 cups of split peas, so I am tripling this recipe, because if I'm dragging out the pressure canner, I'm gonna load up more than 2 quarts. That's just me. And so you need 2 cups of dried split peas. You need 8 cups of water, 1.5 cups of sliced carrots, a cup of diced cooked ham, 1 cup of onion, and then the spices. This is again where you can kind of mix it up again. It's calling for 1 bay leaf, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground allspice, and then some salt and pepper to taste. I'd go a little bit, because we're adding the ham, and you can go vegetarian if you want. You don't have to add the ham. This ham has got some salt in it, so I would suggest going a little bit lighter on the salt. Just you know, kind of gauge that. A little less is better. You can always add more later. The other ingredient I'm actually going to be adding is some garlic powder, because I'm going to take out the allspice. I don't think, my husband doesn't love fall spices, and because I'm making it for him, then I'm not going to add it, but this recipe calls for it. So, and that's it's out of this fantastic recipe book that I really do enjoy a lot, which is the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. So I do love this recipe book a great deal. I use a lot of recipes out of there, great measurements and such for it. The other things that you need, the tools, you will need a blender or a food processor, or I have this Immersion Blender that I'm going to use to emulsify it and get it all really well creamed up. You can probably technically skip that step if you want to. You need your pressure canner. I did put some vinegar in the pressure canner itself, a couple of tablespoons, because I do have water in here already with my jars. They will be heating up here shortly. And then also a good stock pot. I'm probably going to need 2, because I am, as mentioned, I am tripling this recipe. You're also going to need, we're doing a 1-inch Headspace today, so I have my 1-inch Headspace funnel, that's the word. You need a ladle, a Headspace tool. We're doing, again, 1-inch Headspace. We are bubbling. I actually don't need my lid lifter, because I'm not heating the lids when I do the pressure canner, and then our jar lifter. So, and then you're also going to need a knife and a vegetable peeler for your carrots. I've already, as you can see, I've already chopped them up, because I don't think you need to watch me chop up onions. If you want to, I've got other videos that show me chopping onions. So with all of that, also, you know, our lids and rings too, with the jars that are in here. So with all that, let's go ahead and get started. So before I begin, I've got my jars in here with some water in there, and I'm heating up the canner just on low. We're gonna get it up to about 180 degrees. You can use a thermometer to double check that temperature if you like. And then I'm just gonna start adding the water. Now remember, with every 2 cups of dried split peas, you need to add 8 cups of water. I do have these, I have a total of 6 cups of split peas, so I will be doing triple the water amount. And I've just split them between the 2. So I've got 3 cups and 3 cups in each. So we just start adding the water. Now that I have the water and the peas combined, I'm just giving them a quick stir because they are sticking to the bottom pretty good. And I'm glad I'm using 2 pots. There's just no way it would have all fit in 1 pot. I don't have a big giant stock pot like that. You could obviously use a big giant stock pot if you have one. And I've kicked it up at the heat. We've got it on medium-high, and over medium-high heat, we're gonna bring this to a boil. When it comes to a boil, we're gonna cover it and simmer it for about an hour. You can do 1 of 2 things here. I've got this pot has come to a bit of a boil, a real low boil. So I'm gonna reduce the heat and simmer that. You can add all the carrots and the onions, etc. right now, if you like, to then blend it together to make it smooth and creamy together. Or you can cook this separately for an hour and then add this, blend it, and then add your carrots and your onions separate after that. So when you would eat the soup, it would have chunks of carrots and onions in it. I'm gonna blend it all together because that's how my mother and husband like it. So I'm just gonna separate, put half of the carrots in each pot, and then do the same with the onion. And now I'll reduce the heat. We'll go ahead and cover both of these, and we'll reduce the heat and let it simmer for about an hour or so until the peas get soft. Now that I have all of the peas, the onions, and the carrots combined here, and I've got just a real low boil. This is actually starting to boil a little bit more, so I'm gonna reduce the heat to medium or so. You want it on a real low boil for about an hour until the peas soften. So make sure that you do cover, because you don't want to lose a lot of liquid in that process either. All right, our timer has gone off, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the heat, and we're just going to do a quick double check here. Yeah, the peas have definitely gotten soft. So this is a part where you have 2 options. You can blend it and blend it up if you like, or you can leave it as is. It's kind of up to you. I'm gonna blend it using the Immersion Blender, and we're just gonna do little pulses. Now we have it all blended, and doesn't that just look, it doesn't look great to me. But we're gonna go ahead and add our teaspoon of salt, pepper, and garlic powder, plus our bay leaf. Now we're gonna go ahead and add in the ham. And now we're gonna heat this up, bring everything back to a boil over medium to medium-high heat. And we'll do that for about 20-30 minutes. So our 20 minutes is up to reheat everything and just make sure all the seasonings get through. So see, here's the bay leaf. I'm gonna leave that in there until we're done finishing filling up the jars. So I'm gonna go ahead, and I've got my jar out of the canner that I just heated up. And we're gonna go ahead and put our 1-inch Headspace ladle, or not ladle, here's the ladle, 1-inch Headspace funnel here, and filling to 1-inch Headspace. Gonna go ahead and bubble around the rim, really good, and then through the middle here, we're removing the air, any air bubbles that are trapped that can inhibit sealing of the jars. And then I've got my vinegar here that I'm using, and as well as paper towel, just clean the rim. Taking my lid here and a ring, and just fingertip tight. Whew. And be careful, this is very hot. And then you just want to go up and over and into the canner it goes. I have all the jars in the canner now, and we're gonna go ahead and put the lid on. The lid is now on. I'm kicking up the heat to high, and when we start getting a steady stream of steam, I will set the timer for 10 minutes to properly vent. We got a steady stream of steam coming out of the canner here as we're venting. So I've set the timer for 10 minutes. The 10-minute timer has gone off, so we're gonna go ahead and cover the vent here with our 10 pounds of pressure for this pressure canner. If you're in a full dial gauge pressure canner, this is a weighted one, so it goes up to 10 pounds of pressure. If you're in a dial gauge, it'll be 11 pounds of pressure. There'll be more information down below in the show notes, depending on your elevation altitude. My altitude is from 0 to 1,000 feet. So anything above 1,001 feet, that does change. So check the notes below for that. And when it gets up to 10 pounds of pressure, we'll go ahead and set the timer for 75 minutes for pints and 90 minutes for quarts. My gauge is up to 10 pounds of pressure right here. And so I've gone ahead and set the timer for 75 minutes because I am using pints. If you're using quarts, you'd set your timer for 90 minutes. The 75-minute timer has gone off for me. Again, if you were using quarts, you would go 90 minutes, but 75 for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the heat. And when the dial gauge goes completely down to 0, we're gonna let the jars rest for an additional 10 minutes too. The dial gauge has gone down to 0, so I'm gonna go ahead and carefully remove the cover to the vent. This is hot, so be careful. And we'll set the timer for 10 minutes. We're gonna let the jars rest in here before we remove them from the canner. That does help settle the food and also helps with the sealing process. The 10-minute timer has gone off, so we can go ahead and take the lid off the canner. And when you take the lid off, make sure to open it away from your face. It will give you a facial you do not want. It's very, very hot. And then I always like to take them out kind of in the same direction that we put them in, but I did put a shelf in here. So we're gonna go around the edges first so it doesn't get tippy. We already have one that's sealed. I like to use this little trick here to get the shelf out of the bottom of the canner. It just makes it easier to lift it straight up and over. I have tried picking it up before and it's tipped and it landed on top of some of the jars below and accidentally sealed some of the lids, but it wasn't a real seal. It was fake. It pushed the lid down, and so I lost that jar. A couple of jars. They're sealing left and right here. This is great. And doesn't that look just another seal? Doesn't that look like a lot like baby poo? If you don't have kids, you don't know what that looks like, but apparently it's utterly delightful, according to my mom and husband. And this is how we preserve split pea soup. Pretty simple to make. You can use your own, really for the most part, you can season it up, spice it up as much as you want. You don't have to add the onions or the carrots if you don't want to. I highly recommend the onions at least. The carrots can make it kind of sweet, so some people don't love it like that, but just a suggestion. And they have been sealing like crazy, so it was a good run in the canner, which is always a good thing. The recipe is down below, so please go check that out. And also, while you're down there, hit like and subscribe. It does help. And if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, concerns, by all means, please reach out to me. I'm on Facebook at Stacey Can. You can out me on Instagram and TikTok at Stacey Can. My website is www.staceycancan.com, and my email is info@staceycancan.com. Thanks so much again for joining me today. And until next time, happy canning.